And we're back. Alright, today on Dog Talk, we have with us...
Oh, we're not supposed to smile anymore. Wicked
These
Ninja
guys.
88.
And Freshness, yeah, you know.
You know this guy.
Freshness! I'm going to just say it out loud.
They should have known from the extra glare coming from there.
Alright, so today what we're going to be talking in Dog Talk is RPGs then and now. So I mean, like, Doug, you're the eldest.
Yes.
Let's just get that out of the way.
The elder Doug.
I am the elder.
So, if there's anybody who knows OG RPGs, it's you. So, you get the conversation going. Like, what do you think, or what do you think of the RPGs back in the day versus now?
Well, let's start off with, I guess, a question for you guys is that same. What do you guys think of as RPGs from then? Give me, and then RPG now.
Like the quintessential one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. My quintessential would have to be, obviously, I think, like Final Fantasy. Like when I think of
The particular
RPG.
one or the whole series?
I mean, my first experience with RPGs would have had to have been Final Fantasy VII.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't any classes, but it was turn-based, and, you know, you leveled up, you had different materia and stuff like that. So, like, that was my first experience with it. So,
Okay.
I mean, like, when I go back to, like, what is an RPG, like, that would be my Patient Zero.
Okay.
A nice classic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's almost everyone's classic.
Yeah.
For RPGs, yeah.
It's a good ingrained RPG. And I mean, I'd have to piggyback off that and say that would be one of my first. I mean, outside of that, probably Elder Scrolls, Morrowinds.
The Morrowind?
Yeah, I mean, I played that a lot, and I would say that was, 14, 13, I believe, when that rolled around, something like that. So, I mean, that was when I really started to dive into that open world. You know, I'm gonna go off of that, because before I played Elder Scrolls, I played Knights of the Old Republic 1.
Oh, okay.
The original.
Yeah.
The original one. Before they had 2, and then they have the one for PC. So I'd say that was actually my real first dive in actually completing an entire MMO or an entire RPG. That would have been my first one that I completely, like, maxed out. Like, I went through it and played it in all forms and fashion.
Yeah.
It had a tailored end to where, you know, depending on how you played, you would either get the dark side or the light side. So I wanted to see both. I wanted to see both stories. Yeah, I wanted to see that. So that for me is what an RPG had. It was a story that you could alter yourself within that story.
Oh, okay.
So to me, that's what an RPG is, because you're role playing. And do you want to be a good guy or do you want to be a bad guy? I don't want to be forced into the good guy role.
Forced.
Like Uncle John.
Aww.
Too soon.
No, he's still alive.
Oh.
He
Just in jail?
Yeah. No. It's in my basement. I force feed him sauerkraut. No, but RPGs.
Mine would be Final Fantasy as well, like Nick. Yours was 7. Mine was 3.
Whatever, his was like -2.
6.
Yeah, it is considered 6. So the one right behind it, but it was 3. That was, quintessential. It was that's the one I started off of. It made me absolutely love RPGs. So what is something new then that you guys think of a more modern day RPG?
I think more modern RPG for me, I'd have to go Skyrim, Fallout 4.
Okay,
So,
Skyrim,
yeah.
Fallout 4.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have the RPG elements, and so I think obviously more Skyrim than Fallout 4, because in Skyrim, like, they can block, or they can, you can miss them if you're not careful or something like that, depending on the animation. And so I think the RPG was a little bit more necessary. Whereas in even like Fallout 4, you could get away with just being really good at shooters. I mean, you would have to shoot somebody more.
Yeah.
And the VAT system.
Yeah,
I mean, the VAT system pretty much made it a turn-based.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, if I was aiming down the sights and shooting, it's because my AP was recharging.
Yeah. And you could always perk up the VAT system. You can't perk up how well you fire or how well you're able to shoot a guy.
Yeah,
unless
definitely.
you just get better naturally as a player.
That's very true. I have to again agree with Skyrim. That's another one. I mean, I played Morrowind's, Elder Scrolls. I played that, but for like modern RPG, even though I've yet to play it, I really want to. Horizon Zero Dawn seems like an incredible RPG. And then off the tail end of that, since I like that whole primal style of forage and stuff, Far Cry Primal. It's a good RPG because you've got to harvest food and you got to get so for people in your tribe you have to gather materials to build their huts for them. So I mean, you're doing it for the better of the community. So that also reads like a very good modern day RPG.
Okay.
Mine would also have to be the Elder Scrolls series or the Fallout series.
Yeah.
That is it's now a classic modern RPG.
Yeah.
And
action based and
and that's where I wanted to try to get to was you guys both mentioned or you mentioned actually the Old Republic, you mentioned Final Fantasy. It was turn-based, which is something that we don't have nowadays, which is good. And in my eyes and most eyes, it is good that we don't have as much turn-based. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it did really bog down.
I mean, it just made the gameplay a lot longer than it needed to be.
I think turn-based is okay if it's something like Tactics or XCOM.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Those are your good RPGs with turn-based. But if you are 3 people standing in a line, waiting for a meter to fill up, and then attacking, I think in today's, instant gratification gaming society, you just can't have that anymore.
No, you can't.
No.
It's just unheard of, and it's just... the equivalent I give it to is, imagine you're playing a shooter. You press the L2, 1 second later, you aim. You press R2, 1 second later, you shoot. That is a turn-based for you. Mm-hmm. But if the turn-based is because you're moving around and you're attacking, like that's more, because that feels like chess.
Yeah.
I'm playing a chess game, but it's like super in-depth.
Yeah.
Then it becomes, so you still call it an RPG, right? Would you call it like a tactical RPG?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turn-based tactical RPG. And I mean, I think in that case, it's even more of an RPG than what an action RPG would be. Because an action RPG, sometimes if you just mash square enough, you can take out the enemy. But in something where it's a turn-based tactical, you really do, like, especially XCOM. Let's use that as the quintessential turn-based tactical. In that, positioning matters, cover matters, and your overall level matters. Because if you're going up against a really tough alien, you could still take it out as a lower level, but it's going to be so much better, and you can take more than just one hit.
But it's also how you build your squad. So
exactly.
You take on more roles other than just one.
Exactly.
And that's where I feel that RPGs have gone to from then and now is that, back then was an RPG, you didn't take care of just one person.
Right.
No. You had to take care of a whole party.
You had a team.
Right.
Yeah.
You had
whole
your party.
team.
I mean, you think of Dungeons and Dragons. Like you got together with your team, you had your DM, and so you had to manage all that. Go on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And nowadays, I mean, even though Fallout and Elder Scrolls they're great games, they were actually the start that I would like to say of the downfall between the RPGs we know then and the RPGs we know now.
Totally.
They know now that, okay, they don't have to, try to hire all these writers to make all these different characters anymore because, RPGs back then, each character actually had a backstory, and a lot of times it was interconnected with the story.
Right.
And then now, you have, where all you got to really worry about is, one person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then you get into these things where, you start playing the game. What games can you do? I know there's a lot of PC Dungeon and Dragon games where, when you take care of yourself, all of a sudden you become this mass murdering person going around killing everybody in town, or even the Elder Scrolls.
True,
just to have fun.
Well, I mean, in
how many people
Zelda,
can I kill?
how many chickens have you slaughtered in Zelda?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so it's taken RPGs away from, telling a good story that interweaves multiple characters into, it's some of them are great stories, some of them are good stories, but you only have that one person, and that's the only person you connect with. If you notice, even in Elder Scrims, is there a single other person that you're fighting for? Be like, I don't want this guy to die. They're all robots, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you had your companions that would come along with you, but that's not the same as having a 3-person squad that, even
that
Mass
you
Effect...
controlled, by the way.
True, yeah. Mass Effect
person.
is a little bit more of an RPG because you do have the 3 people, but then...
Who knows about the new one, though?
Well,
I haven't seen anything to see the new one.
And even then, it's like, they're there and they can do whatever the heck they want. Mm-hmm. They don't have to listen. Well, I mean, they do have to listen to you. But, I mean, you could go an entire fight and not give a single order to them.
Yeah, exactly. And they only count when you're about dying. You're like, where the hell are they to resurrect my ass?
Right.
You're like, please help me. That's a whole other situation of AI. That's but yeah, that's not about RPGs.
Yeah, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, you had multiple characters, and even at some points, you had so many characters that you could actually leave one behind on your ship and take somebody different with you, in case that mission was tailored to where, say HK577, which was the robot that, whatever his name, I think it was HK something like that.
Yeah, it was HK something.
But he, you could, if it was like a tech-heavy mission, you would want to bring him over the other girl.
Or if there's something on this particular thing that would help you gain more, what's the word? More relationship towards that character.
Right,
because BioWare does it, they're famous for it because of Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, and Dragon Age. I believe it was Dragon Age, the first one. Well, first
Origins?
With the expansion, Origins.
Or was it Inquisition?
No, Inquisition's the newest one.
Yeah, it's Origins and Awakening. That was the pinnacle that I believe in the RPG, and then ever since then, it's just been going downhill. It's becoming more and more action-oriented, more and more about one person.
More about pushing a button.
What about Dark Souls? Where would that fall into the spectrum of the whole RPG realm?
I think Dark Souls, it treads the line between an action game and an RPG. What makes it an RPG is that you have to be a certain level to take on certain foes. Mm-hmm. But it is enough of an action game where if you're patient enough and if you roll enough, you could take on one of the other characters. It's just going to take you a really long time.
Yeah, Dark Souls is prided on that for sure. Yeah. Well, if that's the case, and that would, because we were talking a little bit earlier about Grand Theft Auto and whether that could be considered an RPG because of their systems of how you progress.
Because they have money.
Yeah. Because they have money, and then they have
what level
flying
are you,
stats.
300 and something.
Yeah, I'm 2 something now online.
Okay.
But first of all, there's no caps, by the way, right?
No, there's no level cap. I ran across a 3,000 something.
That right there's another RPG thing.
So
they need to be capped. Go on.
But putting that into the spectrum, so Grand Theft Auto Online is definitely an MMORPG, whereas Grand Theft Auto the story mode would be more considered an action game rather than an RPG. So
arcade.
Yeah.
Arcadey to me.
Yeah. Come on. I don't know if I would put it in the arcadey. It has its touches in the arcade area, but no, straight action. It's action flick.
Yeah.
It's an action flick. I mean, you look at it. Oh, just suck that weapon. Suck my weapon.
So I think, going off of kind of what you were saying, I think what I would like to see RPGs do more is something like Dragon Age Origins or Final Fantasy 12 kind of did it. What's another? White Knight Chronicles. I really like White Knight Chronicles because you did only manage one person, but you could customize your other people. So it's like at 20% health, heal me, but all the other times do something else.
Could you switch between them though?
Actually, in White Knight Chronicles, I think you could.
Okay, yeah, and see.
So, I mean, you could position them over here so that they start fighting and then go back to your regular guy. And then they had, like, the Xenogear thing where you got into a big, knight.
That's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think
awesome.
that was... I think a game like that, a game like Final Fantasy 12, and maybe 15. I think 15 is a little too actiony, but I think something like White Knight Chronicles or Final Fantasy 12, I think it's the perfect line of RPG and action.
Okay.
Because it's not a button masher where every time you push square, you do an attack. It's, there is a meter, it has to fill, and then you attack. But it's a lot quicker.
Right.
You're not waiting 30 seconds, you're waiting 2 or 3.
Okay.
And not only that, but you do also have to manage stuff. So you like in White Knight Chronicles in particular, I don't know, 12 might do the same thing, but in White Knight Chronicles in particular, you could keep attacking, and then while your guy's attacking, you can decide, okay, I need a potion. So he's still attacking and doing his thing.
He's auto-attacking, yeah.
But then it still matters, like your level and
right.
but that's my thing. That's the perfect between enough action and not feeling too turn-based.
I always liked in a lot of RPGs, in specific, Final Fantasy was one that did it heavily, and then Kingdom Hearts followed through with it. Is the Guardian system, being able to summon a beast.
Oh,
I always thought that was kind of an essential thing in an RPG game, being able to have that ability. I guess it wouldn't be fitting for every RPG, depending on what the RPG is about, but most of them have that mythical feel to it, to where it seems like it's a rightly placed faucet. I think that would be good in a new. I want another Guardian system like that in a new RPG, which I think the new Final Fantasy the new Kingdom Hearts is gonna.
Yeah.
Well, of course they're going to have it, but I heard that it's actually going to be way superior to what they had in the past. And what they had in the past, I still think was great for its time. Mm-hmm. Being able to go to like Aladdin's world and then have the genie follow you around. That really, I felt that it enhanced the RPG factor, because it's like you no longer just cared for your single character or maybe the 5 that you get to go with. You then started caring for the people that are a part of these worlds. Okay. So you start helping Aladdin, and even though he's not a character that travels with you, because it's like Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, you still feel for Aladdin. You're like, oh, I want to help him out, or
because you're in his rule.
You're in, you feel like you're in that world. And and RPG again, role playing, you want to feel a part of that universe. And in some RPGs, I don't feel like they capture that enough.
Yeah, definitely.
They focus more on the battle system than they care about the story or even just the backdrop of it.
Yeah. You're building your character. You're not building the world.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's very important. I'm actually
it's
excited.
very individualistic in my mind.
Which I heard Final Fantasy 15 actually totally flopped that around. I heard that it's the world that you're placed into, you really feel that realm.
Yeah,
and
you do. You actually, I believe you feel more for your buddies that come with you than you do for the world.
Oh, so a little camaraderie.
Yeah,
in there. Okay,
because they actually, in a way, show how each one's affected another one in their life, and if you actually listen to the when they talk to one another,
Yeah, that's definitely the one thing they got right in 15 is that, you did feel like a group. I think what they completely dropped the ball on was the story and me giving a crap about anything other than, let me do these 8 fetch quests so I can get this awesome sword.
And that's another thing, was side quests have gone really downhill from then to now.
There's no individuality between side quests anymore. It's literally, there's like 5 things, and then you never know which one of the 5 you're going to get, but it's like you could get 3 rescues and then 2 supply runs. And it's all the same. It's like the supply run's exactly the same as the rescue. It's like, oh, go here, do this, go here, do this.
Right, but instead of a person, it's a crate.
Exactly. or it's a box.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm also a little bit worried about Andromeda, because they said that they've taken away... you still have relationships in it, who we want to fuck. But they made it instead of it and the quests to do that, you know, because whenever, you know, you want to make someone happy, you usually have a quest to do it. All the other ones were somehow tied in the story. Mm-hmm. These ones now, they said that this is just more, they're like side quests. They're not with the story whatsoever. So how is this actually going to flesh out the character at all, other than maybe, you know, we're going to go to this system, kill a bunch of guys, yay, I want to have sex with you now. You know, that's how I'm afraid it's going to end up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, yay, good job, you're manly, let's have sex.
One God of War, just random, just sex randomly.
Sex making. Up, left, right, left.
Have you ever seen the old art? It was Commodore. It was an old Commodore game where that was the whole object of the game, was you and a girl were having sex and you had to push the button.
Careful.
Sorry. And the faster you press the button, the harder you go, and she's all.
Oh God, no! I did not see
there
that.
There was a game on the Commodore for that. I can't remember the name of the game. And then,
is it racist to think that it's, you know, made from Asia?
well, a couple years later, actually, it was like 8 years later, Leisure Suit Larry came out.
Yeah, and that was all sexual innuendos, and
yeah.
I guess there was some nudity in it.
This
was like white and green pixels.
Yeah, just bing,
yeah,
bing, bing, bing. It's like Pong, but the paddles were like this.
But yeah, I think there was two. There might have been. There was 2 meters. That was hers, and then yours. And if you got up faster than she was up, then you would go before she goes. And then she would be happier.
The ultimate RPG.
Yeah. So you had to time it just right so you guys go at the same time.
RPPG.
There was no secret button.
RPPG spot.
Yeah.
That is just terrible. Wow, the Commodore?
Yeah, I was on the Commodore.
It's like sex training for adolescents. Just mash her G button.
Yeah, I mean, that had to have been before the ERSB rating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, come on. It's gotta be.
Because the Commodore was... it's weird, because it's not a console system, but it's not a computer either.
That's true, yeah.
So it was like a mixture in between the two.
Mm-hmm. It's a mutant.
It's the
mutant system. The Commodore 64.
Because Commodore was even before Atari.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
And then there was one even before that, I believe, that was called the Brown Box. I can't
know
remember
it's in that box.
I can't remember, but that was maybe I was just nicknamed the Brown Box, but it was like made way even before then, where all the everything in everyone's houses was wood.
Oh, okay.
It looked like wood, stained wood, and so yeah, you had this vinyl brown looking box, and it had pre-rendered games in it, so you couldn't go buy more games and put it.
Oh yeah,
just okay.
Yeah, it was already pre-rendered games in it. So that was even the predecessor to the Commodore.
Back when, like, the original Minesweeper. Has anybody ever beaten that game?
Probably. Somebody somewhere has beaten it.
How?
And that is another RPG for you.
Yeah. Well, you play the role of a Minesweeper.
I played the role of having rage. Punching my computer.
It's like Minesweeper.
More like click 3 times and start over.
And it was randomly generated. It was the first randomly generated game ever.
That's the first procedurally generated game of all time.
It was Minesweeper.
We owe you credit, Minesweeper. Not just for the hours of entertainment, but the years of therapy after my aneurysm.
Alright, so any final thoughts on RPGs? What you think?
They're still making great ones.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that gaming has started evolving, I don't think that will get a bad.
Elder Scrolls will always hold a special heart, or a special place in my heart. Mm-hmm. That's because they, even though I do say that they are what started the newer section of RPGs, it's still the best in my mind, because essentially you can get more immersed into that world by the way they built it, compared to other RPGs and games in that sense.
Yeah.
Your turn. Do you have anything to say?
I think RPGs are going to continue to grow, both in size and intensity, due to the technology that we have.
And can you think of VR?
A
VR RPG.
Yeah.
A VR RPG.
VR. Verbage. God, what if it's an MMO VR RPG?
Too many consonants. Somebody call the CIA and the FBI.
Yeah.
So we can get the NSA over here ASAP.
The more you think about it, like, how
The
cool would that
HSS.
be to have that ability? Like, you know, in the end, I think RPGs are going to continue to progress in a very positive way. I think that there's going to be a big learning curve because we're going to reach a wall, and we're going to have to get past that, because RPGs, as much as we love them, there's only so many times you can go through an elf story, a knight story, or a Fallout story. There's only so many times before it's like, okay, I've seen and heard this. What are they going to bring to the table to boost that?
So, I mean, my final thoughts are, I think what we need to do is we need to stop doing subcategories. It's an action RPG. It's a strategy RPG. Like, we need, if something does have an RPG, it shouldn't have RPG elements. If you're going to go RPG, go RPG.
Yeah.
Don't just have arbitrary numbers that you have to whittle down to 0 for that person to die. Make it matter. I feel like Borderlands is more of an RPG than something like Division. Because in Borderlands, there are certain characters that are more susceptible to acid. There are certain characters more susceptible to flame, to shock. Every yin has a yang, and that's what makes it more of an RPG. Division is how many bullets do you get into that person? And that's what makes it an RPG. It has an arbitrary number that you have to whittle down. Whereas Borderlands, there are classes, there's rock, paper, scissors going on in the background, because sometimes you can get a critical hit and it'll do better. That is more of an RPG. I want to see more games like a Borderlands or like a Dragon Age, where it's not just your character and what level they are, but what they are, how you use them. Because that's what's an RPG. An RPG is a role-playing game. What role are you? Okay, what squad do I have? Do I have a healer? Because I have to have a healer, and I have to have a tank, and I have to have a support. That's an RPG. Elder Scrolls, as much as I love it, it's an action. It's action. It has RPG elements, but once again, it's that arbitrary number. It's a little bit better because, trolls might be more susceptible to flame versus, a soldier just,
What would you put Ghost Recon Wildlands in if
that's just an action game. That's the arbitrary number thing.
Because I wouldn't, other than the arbitrary number, I don't see how you would classify Elder Scrolls as an action game more than an RPG, because it's...
Well, it's the fluidity of everything. It's the fact that you don't have to worry about classes. It's actually the openness of it that makes it less of an RPG, because it's a Western
RPG.
Yeah, but exactly.
Okay.
But yeah.
But when you're looking at your character, so your character development, not only do you have to choose, okay, what race you are. Are you a knight type of race? Are you an assassin type of race? And then you have, what's your star alignment, which gives you extra perk abilities. That wouldn't... To me, that alone almost blows it all the way into the RPG realm, just because of how customizable all your abilities and attributes are.
Well, and that's also, you can say that Call of Duty's, if you're going by those rules, you can say that Call of Duty is an RPG because by equipping certain perks gives you faster reload and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's why it is an RPG. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's more action than RPG.
It's more modern RPG than it is classical RPG.
Right. And so I want to see something. Yeah, I consider Borderlands a little bit more because it's about the classes. It's about the enemies you're going up against. In Elder Scrolls, no matter what, I know I can swing a sword at it and it's going to die. Whereas Borderlands, now sure, if you shoot it enough, it's gonna die. But if you use the right stuff, it'll go down faster.
Right, you hit it in the right spot, it'll
Exactly.
go faster. Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So that's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't mind. Kind of weird little idea. I wouldn't mind an RPG that's set in like the Civil War time.
Yeah, because then you have to. There's turns basically.
Turn-based muzzle reloading.
Yeah.
Well, and then you think about it. You know, you march from the furthest point west to the furthest point east, going through each battle of the Civil War.
Yeah.
It would be a good historical movement, as well as I think a good. It's like a good. It's kind of like what Battlefield 1 did, how they went into that blast from the past type thing. I think it would be a good pull from that.
Yeah.
But I could see that style battle system being an RPG. You know, like going out and capturing a Confederate camp and taking their supplies to resupply yourself and your team, like that type of stuff. So
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be a fun RPG.
Yeah. So I mean, join the conversation. What do you think about RPGs then versus now? You know, what do you count as an RPG? Make sure to let us know in the comments below. But that's pretty much it for the Deadly Operative Grunts show. Make sure to like, subscribe at Deadly Operative Grunts or on Twitter at Deadly Op Grunts. Keep looking out for all our top 10s and more Deadly Operative or D.O.G shows coming out. That's it for us. This is the Deadly Operative Grunts, and we're feeling squirrely.
Super squirrely.
Triple Threat.